some?
All right. So this week, we're in the middle of the holidays. We are getting ready for, all the Christmas shit, the New Year's resolutions, all that energy. But I think that though this is true every year, I feel like in this particular year, there is a really big dark cloud over Christmas. And whereas last year, the dark cloud was like, oh my God, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Like, what is this going to be? Now we're still in the pandemic and we're still broke. We're still hoping for stimulus checks. We're still hoping for change and more help from our government in other ways in terms of policy. We're still seeing people get certain verdicts and certain things that are unfair. We're still like all of these things are still happening. And I feel like it feels worse than the moment we were last year, where there felt like there was some room for hope and there was some room to expect different energy that I don't know I feel this year myself. And on top of that, we're looking at, a time in our nation where there's inflation like a motherfucker. Supply chains are like stuck up in all which sorts of ways. Like, and I don't know, there's just and the planet is showing the fuck out, as we saw in the tornadoes that happened just fucking yesterday. Like, there are 2 days ago. Like, these tornadoes are like there was one that was like on the ground for 158 miles, like just like, and there were three at once. Like, it's just like there's a lot going on, and so the holidays don't seem so cheerful. And I just wanted to, chat with you guys about the holiday season in general and mental health and how people are feeling and what's going on, and either personally or just like what you're observing and what your hopes or predictions are on what this holiday season is gonna turn out to be.
Yeah, I feel like I could definitely feel like the tension from, like
Mm.
around people like this holiday season. I think people are already going through a lot of mental health, like anxiety and stress is because of everything going on. But I think the holiday season just adds to it, right? Like the pressure, maybe of having to get gifts for people, the pressure of not having money, the pressure of all this other stuff. So I think that like like for example, like the other day, me and my wife went to do grocery shopping, right? And there was this dude who was like trying to park his van or whatever. And I was about like I was my car was behind him, so he's telling me like he's signaling with his hands like he's going in there, right? Like he's pointing like I'm parking there. So I'm like, cool, you know what I'm saying? Do your thing. And so then he tells stop, so I'm stopped. And then he goes like so when I go to make a left to go past him, the dude storms out his car, ready to fight to the point where he left his car on reverse. So his car started going back. He has to go back in his car, put it back in park, and he's coming out screaming like a lunatic. And this is like maybe like a 50-year-old man, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not somebody in my age range, it's somebody who's older than me, right? And he's coming out screaming like a lunatic, like you would have thought like I hit his car, I did something to him, and I didn't even. So then my wife, she's telling, so because I'm trying to just keep calm, cool, and collected, right? Like I'm like I told him I'm staying right here in this car unless he comes. No, because
Facts.
it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad regardless
Right,
because it's gonna be me getting out the car, right? Me stopping
right,
from doing something. It's gonna be me hurting the 50-year-old man who got out of his
right.
car and came at me. So I'm like, I'm gonna stay in here until I feel like he's threatening us. And at that point, that's when I get out the car. Until then, I'm gonna stay right here. Let him scream. He's screaming, going crazy, and all this other stuff. And I was able to hold my composure, and I moved, I parked, whatever. And after we parked, he's still screaming his head off. So I'm like, I walk a little closer, and I'm like, listen, I think you need some therapy. I think, I told him just like that. Like, I wasn't arguing. So I was like, I think you need to get some therapy. I was like, get some therapy, because I don't know what led you to get so upset at me, because I didn't even mean to do it. Like, I wasn't trying to take your spot. I wasn't aggressive towards him at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't like I was pissed off. Like, it caught
Right.
me off guard how he came out the vehicle. Like, that's how off guard like we were.
Wow.
But that was an example when I've seen it left and right. I've seen it in stores. People just arguing back and forth. Like it's extra, like over little things too. Like, and I think that it's the pressure of the holidays. And I think that you said it very well. You said last year was a pandemic still, so people were like, oh, this is this year. Next year will be better or whatever. And then next year is here, and we're still in a pandemic. And for a lot of people, it isn't better. If anything, it's worse, right? Because there is no
Yeah.
stimulus. there is no now you have to go work. Like it's not like you're working from home. Maybe you may have to go to work now. Maybe you have to, whatever it may be. So I think there's a lot going on right now. So and as parents as well, like I could totally understand the pressure of like just thinking you have to get your kids stuff, right? Like this whole thing, like having to get your kids gifts, and it's a conversation me and my wife have had. Like, like the kids will be happy with anything they get from us. You know what I'm saying? Like you just have to be grateful that you're able to get them something, and the biggest gift you give them is love, right? Like it's just like it's not something material. So that's my message to anybody out there listening to this. Like, don't feel the pressure of anything. You know what I'm saying? Just love. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't afford to give somebody, just show them some love. Give them some love. You know what I'm saying? They will appreciate that because we all need love. Like we do.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Skittles? What observations do you have?
Yeah, I don't think that I could really say that I'm feeling the Christmas spirit. My halls are decked. And my house is decorated and all of that, but it's like I don't know, it hasn't really like hit me, and I don't know that I almost feel like every year you kind of have like that realization of like Christmas doesn't hit the way it used to when you were a kid, but like this year it feels extra like it's different because like just echoing what you both said of like, yes, we're still in a pandemic, but now like we're in a pandemic and the world is opening up again. And so like we're dealing with like having to go back into a pace and a hustle that after a year indoors, we told ourselves that we didn't want to return to, and like trying to keep up the self-care and the self-love and all this stuff that we picked up while we were reflecting and having to spend all this time with ourselves and stuff like that, trying to keep that up while still also keep up with everything else, and the days feel like they happen in seconds, It feels like the days are shorter, the sun goes down earlier, like I feel like I'm always like chasing a clock, and it's interesting.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, both of y'all spend a great deal of time around children. And also Mozo, I don't know, do you still work at the facility? Is that still what you do for work, or you're not there anymore? But you used to be in a
juvenile detention center, yeah.
And so like, but you also have children, which means you spend a great deal of time around children. How do you guys notice the energy of the younger generation around the holidays? Because I feel like when I used to work with kids, obviously pre-pandemic and like years before that, Christmas time, like kids are excited in a different way. They have a very particular energy that I always found super uplifting. Are the kids more apathetic, or are they more jaded than usual this year, would you say? Or do you think that they are completely untouched and the fairy tales of Christmas and all the other holidays that get celebrated during this time is still alive for them?
Well, it's good. I'm sorry.
First.
No, go ahead.
I feel like there's like a handful of kids whose parents are doing a great job of keeping the magic alive. Like they have that like Christmas spirit. But I would say that the majority, at least in the community, like the middle school, high school community, is jaded and apathetic towards everything. And so that's including Christmas, because it's like they witnessed a flu come in and put us on our asses and showed them that school is a fucking joke and that teachers and the school don't actually know what they're doing. And I feel like that apathy has spread to everything, and not in like they're negative Nancy's or whatever. It's just like a certain kind of like, well, if I don't give a fuck, I don't give a fuck,
Right.
And yeah, at least that's what I've noticed.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. Skittles. As far as the kids at home here, like my little one, she's 4 and she's super excited. Like, but again, like you just have to take into account like what's the home life like, right? Like
Hmm.
some of these kids sometimes they don't have the best home life, so the holidays for them means they're gonna be home, maybe in a place they don't want to be at,
Mm-hmm.
right? Around people they don't want to be around. And that's why sometimes when you do work in a school or a detention center or whatever it may be, that's why sometimes during the holidays, tensions are really high. Like you see fights breaking out. You see because they're thinking, oh, I'm about to be home for a whole week and a half without being in school. Which a lot of times school, as much as they say they hate it, sometimes it's their safe place, right? It's their place where
Mm-hmm.
they get away from those kind of things, the things going on at home and stuff like that. So that's why sometimes you see it like around Thanksgiving, around Christmas, around the holidays, you see a lot of like those tensions for kids, But I do think this generation, because of COVID, they are very just like, I don't care. Um, COVID took school down, so you ain't
No,
shit, teacher.
seriously.
You ain't nothing, teacher. You
If
don't
it
mean
doesn't
nothing.
serve them,
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
and they're also a generation that comes with like half of their education they can look it up on YouTube and TikTok. Like literally,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, what are you
it's
teaching
so
me? I could just look up.
information is so accessible that like I just feel like it affects their approach to everything else or whatever. I
100%.
will
And
say
but I
this though. I will say this though. Today the Secret Santa at my at my school started, and my Secret Santa got me an iced coffee, and it was the
oh
best little start of the morning. So shout out to my Secret
oh
Santa, whoever you are.
Oh, that's super cute. That's
That's
super
dope.
cute. I was gonna say, I think I had a sneaking suspicion that exactly what you guys said as your answers would be your answers, and I just wanted to hear it to validate the point that I feel, which is like I think that the most valuable thing that people can do this holiday season, whether it is with young people in your life or just honestly anyone in your life or any place that you're at in your life, is to appreciate the time of being engaged with one another, like actually spend time with your loved ones where you're off of your phones, actually invite yourselves to have conversations about shit you care about. And I don't necessarily mean no like racial justice, and it doesn't have to be like the optimal thing. In fact, I almost want to offer that people this holiday season find moments where they can drop all of those things and all of the causes and all of the things that they carry every day to prove a point, and to like to not have to fight for a moment and be able to be present with each other. Because I don't feel like in some spaces people are checking in with each other enough, and I think that if we really were checking in on one another enough, it's not to say that the world wouldn't still be pushing to open up the way it is, because that's a structural thing, that's something of capitalism and this country and the way that the wheel works, right? But if we were checking in with each other enough to make ourselves and the people we love highest good, the most important thing, that maybe the way we would put our foot down about some of the ways that we're being rushed into life would look a lot different if we believed that our well-being was more important than what is
Mm,
happening and what is being perpetuated. I really think that. I think it's hard for people to believe that their voice or their opinion and their experience matters. And so why the fuck am I going to get together with a bunch of people who are in their head, the picture of advocacy is like being in the street and protesting and looting maybe, and so they put like all these ugly pictures to speaking up for yourself and defending yourself, when really it doesn't even need to look like anything like that. And I think it's important that people spend time to check in with each other, and then find something to be joyous about, right? Then find a way to laugh, even if it's just laughing at how it's all fucked if you have no way to laugh, like, because another thing people are really dealing with is a lot of death. There's just been
mm-hmm.
millions and millions of death, and the numbers don't seem to really slow down, and we're surrounded by it. um and we don't, I feel like the amount of deaths some families have experienced, even over the span of just 1 year, and not just to COVID, right? But just like normal death on top of the fact that there's a pandemic, and the way that the pandemic changed the way people can engage that process of when someone passes on. Like, so much is fucked. But like, are we really stopping for a moment and checking in with ourselves, because we can't end inflation overnight. We can't fucking change the American government overnight, right? We can't change our corporate bosses overnight, but we really can focus on ourselves, and we have to believe in the power of that. And we have to practice that in community, because I feel like the more that you just hear it or reshare it on a meme on your IG story versus actually being like, no, I'm gonna look at somebody today and actually tell them I love them, and not have a TikToker on a fucking video being like, if you received this video today, somebody wants you to know you're important. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how about I just leave you a voice note telling you you're important? You know, like, even if it was the TikTok that prompted me to remember to tell you that, that's okay. But like, what's the difference? What is the gift of someone's word, of someone's appreciation, gratitude? Like the gift of gratitude, like on some nuanced gratitude, not just like, hey, thanks for being my mom, but like something specific. Like, let people's hearts crack open. A lot of people need to fucking cry who are holding into tears. And I think the best way to let it out is also through joy and celebration, and not just through tragedy, and not just something bad happening and suddenly that's the trigger. Let the trigger be the joy, and release that shit. I think that's the gift that we could all give ourselves this year, because we all been through a lot, and we don't know when it's going to get better, and we don't know if it's going to get worse. So
yo, that's all facts. This how I found you. This how I found you, Lisa, y'all. How I found it. This how I found it. I was probably going through somebody's story, and she was talking some real shit like this. And I was like, who is this? Follow.
Appreciate that, you know.
And here we are. But like, you're 100% correct. And you know, like you said, like there's a lot of people that we may know personally, right? That they don't practice what they preach, right? Like, it's easy to make a video for views or for likes or whatever, right? About, oh, you're this kind of person, but then in real life, you're not that person or whatever. What are you doing, right? What are you doing to really, like, even if it's one person, right? Even if it's one person, somebody you work with, even somebody in your house, have you practiced what you're talking about? Like, have you practiced what you preach? Have you practiced it, or are you just saying it just to say it? You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what the world is truly missing. It's just so divided. Nobody wants to take the time to understand anybody. Everybody just wants to be on some, like, I'm on the left side and I'm on the right side and I'm on this side, I'm on this side, you know, kind of like it's like a tug of war, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just pulling back and forth, getting nowhere, because in tug of war nobody gets anywhere. One group sinks, then one group could also sink too, right? Like, that's how it works. So it's just, we need to do better. And that was well said.
Yeah, thank you. And also, you know, if you're out enjoying the holidays, I just always like to remind people, like, tip generously, you know, be in a space of giving with the trust that anything you invest comes back to you 7 times over, right? Like, knowing that, like, being in that flow, because you never know how just a little bit of something will change something for someone in a big way, you know, or how that energy is going to come back and hit you like, oh, because you weren't, you know, being cheap or being in a negative mindset of lack mentality, and what you don't have and I don't have and I can't afford and I can't afford. That's another gift. I think people should give themselves the gift of trying at least for a week to speak in a way where they can only speak in affirmation and not say something negative. So like, if I'm missing money, right, or if something, say, I know I'm going to get over this financial hardship, right? Saying that instead of, oh, these fucking bills, I'm drowning, man. This shit is crazy. Fuck these taxes. Fuck these. Like, you can say that, and those are valid things, but it's also valid to say, I know I'm going to get through this financial struggle. I trust what needs to happen will happen. There's a different energy. We really are the masters and orchestrators of our energies in so many ways. And while there are things that impact and change the work that we do on our energy, all we got to do is keep pushing back, right? We just got to be like, oh, okay. Had to dodge that bullet and remind myself, you know, no weapons formed against me shall prosper, motherfucker. Parking spot is mine. Don't know what your problem is. Get some therapy. Like,
you're right. No, you're right. Like, it's all about, like, how, like, and also, you don't know what other people are going through, right? Like, like I don't know what that man may have lost. Like, you don't know, right? He may have lost somebody in his life. He, you know, like, off the rip, I could be like, damn, he's just mad because he thinks I'm trying to take his spot. But it's probably deeper than that, right? Like, he's probably going through 1,000,001 things, not just not him thinking I'm taking the spot. Like, you don't know what he's going through. And that's why I've kept it calm. Like I said, I'm at a point in my life where I keep it calm. Unless I feel like someone's going to harm me physically, where I have to get physical, I'm very good with using my words and just de-escalating situations instead of escalating them and making it, because you just don't know what people are going through. And sometimes people just need, sometimes things happen, people explode, and next thing you know, they need to be held so they could just cry sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
it's as simple as that. I look at like kids, like my daughter, she can have a whole tantrum about something right now, right? And then 30 seconds later, I hold her and she's crying. I'm like, "Are you okay?" Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we're still like that sometimes. Like we need that, and we need that. We still need that hug. We still need that, like, that love of someone being like, "Yo, it's all right. Like, it's okay. I understand, but it's okay."
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I'm here. Like, my heart is so warm because I'm one of those adults when I have breakdowns. I have a friend, I'll like break down and he'll be like, it's okay. We know you're a crybaby. It's okay. Come here. But it's great. Awesome. Thank you. So now we are going to move into our plate of